Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries, so whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting that transformational moment that changed our lives, and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join our Facebook group at Life Transformation Radio Community, where we interact with the listeners, interact with the guests that we have on the show. And you can also subscribe to Life Transformation Radio on your favorite podcast platform. It can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, Pocket Cast, Himalaya app, Google Podcasts. We are available on Pandora. So wherever you're listening, please subscribe right now to Life Transformation Radio. You could also go to YouTube and search Life Transformation Radio on YouTube and see more of our content. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, go ahead and give us a call at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And with that, please help me welcome to the show my amazing guest for today, Ashra Bennett. Ashra, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
It's fabulous to be here, Sean. I'm so excited.
I am super pumped to have you on the show. We met at National Publicity Summit, and when 5 minutes into the show, I was like, yes, please come on my show. You know, like we got to talking to each other about your awesomeness and what you're creating in the world. And you know, halfway through the conversation, I'm like, you got to come on my show. Like, this is absolutely amazing, and I'd love to have you. So yeah, I'm honored to have you here.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was a great connection, definitely, at the National Publicity Summit. And I remember vividly you saying you're here clearly with a mission and a purpose, and we need to chat more. So here we are. So let's discuss all things transformation.
Oh, yeah. I'm super pumped for this. Everybody listening right now, go and check out what she's doing at ashraglobal.org. And she has a new 12-month program launching December 12th, and the link is right there in the show notes. If you're listening online, you can go to Facebook or go to LinkedIn. Those links are right there in the show notes. Make sure that you send her a friend request, letting her know that you listened to this episode of Life Transformation Radio. The title of this episode is What Every Woman Needs to Know with feminine coach Ashra Bennett. She is a transformational, sacred, divine feminine coach, a 7th Generation Seer, which is a medium, clairvoyant, a psychic, and visionary alchemist. She has fostered a highly progressive, successful 16-plus year career across multiple industries and disciplines as a public motivational, and inspirational speaker. This natural ability has seen her transform hundreds of thousands of individuals' lives globally. As a natural storyteller, Ashra speaks on stages across the world in intimate to large gatherings, sharing insights and tangible knowledge that cultivates immediate change in the lives of the audience. Ashra is on a mission to transform 100 million individual lives in the USA through grounded, tangible, and heart-driven connection. Again, go to ashraglobal.org. It's right there in the show notes. Click on that, copy and paste it into a browser. Get to know her. I'm telling you, she is amazing at what she does. Ashra, the first question that I have to ask, and I believe is the most important question anyone could ever be asked, is why? Why do you do what you do?
I love that question, and I think it's one of those things that we should all understand our why, what motivates, what gets us inspired and jumping out of bed each day, what drives our purpose and our passion. For me, it has been the ability to actually assist individuals in large capacity through moving through trauma, wounding, and their pain and their suffering. For me, that's why I love being able to journey with people, to witness people from all locations. And for me, that why is what keeps me inspired. It keeps me hungry as well to keep the moving forward and keep the outreach going and making sure that I'm touching as many lives as possible so that it becomes beautiful effect. The lives that I touch, that transform and touching the lives that they touch. It's just an exchange. I love my why, and my why hasn't really changed too much over the years. It's just expanded, and that's the exciting part of the why.
Ashra, you still there?
I'm here, yes. I've logged in and out a couple of times because there was just silence.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what happened.
I was just emailing you to say, holy shit, we got a problem.
I don't know. Oh, technology. So I was just saying that that I love your story. I love, what you were talking about. And it wasn't always, like, you didn't always live in the United States.
Yeah, I didn't. So I actually intentionally moved to the U.S. At the beginning of 2020, actually right before the pandemic started. So where I was living in SF at the time, San Francisco, for those that aren't sure of the abbreviation, I must remember, is that we were one of the first counties in the country that went into full lockdown. And so I'd literally been in the country 2 weeks. So it was a really interesting introduction to the U.S. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world. And, being here was very intentional. It was a year and a half in the physical making with the current administration. And what that looks like is that I actually paid the privilege to come and serve the American people in the simplest of forms.
Love it. Love that.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier that I find it fascinating that people do like a global journey. I've had people on the show that have traveled the globe. They went to an ashram and they stayed in an ashram before. They've traveled through the Himalayas. They've traveled through like all of these amazing places, and I'm sure they have a million stories. And I wonder what it's like to just uproot and say, I'm going to go here. I mean, minus the pandemic and everything else, but just to pick up an entire life, even for a short time. I know people that are like, yeah, I'm going to go do a sabbatical somewhere, or yeah, I'm going to do a 6 month in like India or, whatever. So I wonder, it's got to be scary, but exciting at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. So for me, whilst it was a year and a half in the making to physically go through the legalities of immigrating into the country and bringing business here, bringing my global brand to be based here, is that it was a 5-year vision. I knew about it for 5 years that I would actually come here. But it brings a whole lot of, as much as there's certainty in self, it brings a lot of uncertainty because you're learning to walk for the very first time. I would say that I'm very worldly. I'm a very worldly individual. I'm very articulate, very intelligent, very well traversed. But when you go to live in another country full time, it's like all of your worldliness is like thrown out the window, and you're learning to walk and talk for the first time, because you're having to understand the narrative of the community that you're actually working in and at large. And there are things that just organically are normal for the US community that are super foreign to me as an Australian. It'd be no different, if an American came to live in Australia. And they're not major things, but they're the subtle things that you go, wow, that seems a little different. And so you have to adjust to that. And so, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, the fact that in my 40s, in my early 40s, it's literally starting life all over again. And, I have a very established brand, a very established global business. But when you come to a new country, and particularly with a population like it here is in the US, is that I'm having to build that brand awareness is, again, like learning to ride a bike. So it's really challenging, but it's super exciting. And I didn't come here just randomly picking, a ticket out of a hat. It was very intentional. As I said, 5 years knowing about that I would come here, and a year and a half in the making to physically get here is the hunger for it. I think when you're really hungry for something, if you're really passionate and very driven, very intentionally driven about living a very particular life and being of value, being of service and a solution to others, then you'll do what it takes to get there. And for me, like all of those other individuals you were so generously sharing that go on sabbatical or want to go live in, say, Mykonos in Greece, for a month or 6 months or whatever it might be, they have that yearning to do something greater than themselves, even if it's for a short period of time. For me, I'm here for the long haul. I came in the thick of it, and I intend to stay here in the thick of it and continue to work with the American community to rise out of the thick of it beyond COVID.
Okay. So I really want to get into the transformation, because so many of us have gone through many transformations, and we're going to continue to go through transformations. What would you say is a transformational moment in your life that you consider put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Oh, I've had many really significant, but one that's really pivotal that I'd love to share is back in 2012, I was working in the corporate sector as an executive, a very senior executive in a multinational organization. And I was given an opportunity to partake in a fundraiser that was raising funds for children's brain cancer research. And I put my hand up, not really fully knowing what I was committing myself to, but the cause behind it was so moving to me that it was like I just had this instinctive knowing that I wanted to do it. Now, long story short, I had committed to doing a 2,100-kilometer bike ride. Now, I should probably convert that in miles. Maybe someone can do the math while they're busy listening. It's long. It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks being in the saddle, riding a bike, full on doing long days, like riding 8 hours a day in different terrains. Now, when I had committed to doing this particular venture, to me it was all about the end outcome, which was raising money, right, for children's brain cancer research, not so much of the actual action of being out in the middle of nowhere and finding these pivotal moments of transformation where I had to dig deep and dig deeper than I'd ever dug previously in my life. And off the back of doing that bike ride, I was a team of 12 riders. I was the only female, and we rode into our final leg on the 12th day. I really looked back and thought, wow, would I ever get on another bike again? Probably not. But I cried. I remember there was days that I just cried. I cried riding and following the cadence of the bike in front of me and in the slip of the truck for protection out on these open roads. And I knew that there was so much more to give and to live in my life than what I had been experiencing until that point. And so for me, that was a massive transformational moment where we're really fortunate. We raised, as a team of 12, we raised $500,000 to give to a particular research foundation to continue the legacy of the great work that they do in the community. But for me, I didn't want to keep living that particular way of life that I was living, and that I knew that there was a whole lot more that I could do for others. And in return for doing that for others, it was obviously doing a great deal in my own life, introspectively. So for me, out of all of the experiences and the moments of transformation, this one really stands out for me because it was through the eyes of death. And most of these children that the money was raised for actually don't survive the particular brain tumors that they have, unfortunately. And so the funds being raised for that was so critical, right? So critical. And I think back now that I think it was maybe day 2 that my legs were aching. Like I was exhausted and it was stinking hot, and the glare from the tar on the road was actually burning. Like it was like giving us like a version of sunburn, the easiest way I can describe it. I was sore, I was tired, and there was part of me that was just like, man, this is what have you done? Like, what the hell have you signed yourself up for? Right? This was the internal dialogue in my head. Like, let's be honest, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It was tough out there. And I want to add that when I signed up to do this, I remember the lead guy that was doing this particular fundraiser. All of the guys that were on it, they were previous league, like football players, and they had actually raced in legs of the Tour de France. No, not Ashra. No, Ashra had a gym membership. She actually had more than one gym membership. It depended on what she felt like on any different day, which gym membership she would go to. And so here me and my bravado have gone, yeah, I want to do this. It will be awesome. And again, being a mum of a young child, I kept putting myself in those parents' shoes and thinking I couldn't imagine what it would be like. So confronting to have to navigate that world. And so here I am. I'm like, yep, I'll do it. And this particular guy says to me, so do you ride? And I paused awkwardly and went, no, not so much. And then he said to me, so when was the last time you rode a bike? And I was like, when you can feel that pit in the bottom of your stomach, and you're like, the truth is coming out now, like I got nowhere to go. I went, not since I was a kid. And at that point, I was also in my early 30s. So it was like hilarious. So he just like, okay, well, yeah, great, like great chat. Come back to me. And if you're still hungry and purposeful about it, then come back to me and we can have a more discussion on it. And I think maybe a couple of days passed and I gave him a call and said, hey, it's me. I'm ready to do this. And he said, I like your commitment, even though you have no idea what you're doing. And it was 6 months worth of hardcore training, 6 days a week, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers on the bike. And I still kept my executive job and, family life and all the things in between. It was tough, but that's what transformation is about. Transformation is what I've learned. And I don't know what your take on this, Sean, is that it occurs not when we are hungry, seeking. Change comes when we least expect it, but it's when we least expect it is the most transformative, and it takes us upon a uncharted territory that expands us in so many ways that we don't necessarily think we're ready for, but we're more than capable and ready of taking that deep dive. And if it was not that bike ride, I would not have stepped through so many doors, would not have actually changed the trajectory in which my life is taking me. And I certainly wouldn't be here on this call, obviously talking to you. So I'm thankful for every transformation, good, bad, and indifferent. And for the days that I cried on that bike ride, oh my goodness, it really, like I take myself there. It really taught me a lot around resilience and what it is to be deeply compassionate without actually having anything given in return to you. So I gave my time, I gave my family time because I wanted to give, not for anything in return other than to be a good human being. And I think we could all do with a little more of that in the world, right?
Oh, definitely, especially now.
Yeah.
I think personally that the human nature and the humankind has shown its true colors. I don't think it's one person. I don't think it's one country. I don't think it's one event. I think they've been like that the whole time.
Yeah.
I really, truly believe that. I don't think people's behavior have been influenced by the Russians or by COVID or by hospitals or Trump or elections or anything else in this world. I think that person has always been like that, and they've had enough, and now they're showing their true colors. I really honestly think that if you are a loving person, if you are a Christ-centered person, if you are a medium, if you are, holistic in your thinking, if you are a hippie, if you are a city boy, if you are a country girl, if whatever you want to label yourself, if that's who you say you are, and your core values are straight, and your beliefs are straight, and you're solid in your conviction, then that's who you are. And the people who say that they love first under every circumstance. But everybody has their breaking point. I just think that right now, with all of the lockdowns and all of the masks and all of life, has exposed those people who were silent like ugly human beings. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think absolutely. We refer to them as narcissistic behavior, right? But the reality is there's always polarization in reality. There's always good and bad, and there always has been good and bad. I think now, as you mentioned, more than ever, there is nowhere to hide. And so everything is on parade. And I think also more than ever, we live in such a digitalized, so much influence with social media that everything is constantly being regurgitated. We can see anything at the access of a smartphone, of a laptop, of our TVs, if you have a smart TV. So, yeah, absolutely. Those that aren't in congruency and have got their own agenda, what's in it for them. I think now more than ever, absolutely, it's being on show, but it's also giving power to the people to actually come together in a unified manner in saying we will not tolerate certain behaviors. We will not tolerate injustice. Like previously, it may have gone under the radar. We're now bringing light and shedding more significant light. Where there is disparity in community, where there's dichotomy in community, where we've known there's disparity and dichotomy for an exceptional amount of time, but we're now saying, hey, enough is enough. It's not good for just a minority. It's got to be good for all or not at all. And so, yeah, right. It's certainly changing of the guard without a doubt. And there's no going back. I think that's the other part of this, is that the old is old, and we refer to the old for a reason. It didn't make the current version cut of what needs to happen next. Right?
Yep, absolutely. And you hit on something that really kind of stirred something, was that things have been on parade, but yet things that have happened in the past would have always stayed out of the radar. Had we not been so connected before, and it's like just yesterday, I was like last night or maybe in the afternoon, and all today, people have been talking about Nexium. There's a self-described level marketing company based out of New York. And their founder, Keith Rainier, who is the co-founder, the leader, whatever you want to call it, he got 120 years in prison because it looked like on paper, on social media, on whatever, it was a self-development, it was a professional development seminar company. That's what they were, executive success programs. But they found out through whistleblowers, through everything else, and then looking at their events, that they're actually... that Keith guy is a sex cult leader. And then they dove into what he was doing and go, holy crap. Like, that's I don't think, if you look a couple of days ago, there were so many reports that came out about what people are doing in the world. The amazing, things that, like, Veterans Day is coming up. You see more and more empowerment events. We're seeing more and more like love events. And this is how I found about Burning Man. What's Burning Man?
Oh, really? Burning Man's huge. Yeah.
I never heard of it before.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
But this is how, right? Like unless you're in it, like you don't know. And the fact that so many people are learning about the pedophile rings and the kids being abducted and being found in Georgia and all the I mean, there's 45 kids found the other day, and then there's Burning Man, and then there's this virtual event and this virtual. Like we're connected more than ever before, and we're just on the cusp. We're just on the cusp, you know.
Yeah, we are, and I think there's two schools of thought with this. We are far more connected than ever, but in the midst of our connection digitally, and totally in relevance in respect to human life, and I'm a big advocate for human life, to protect with obviously COVID, but we mustn't lose touch of what it is to be in human connection, to have compassion. You know, when we're in such a digital age and we're very connected. I mean, I love that I'm here in the US and I can still connect. I can Skype to family back in Australia. Like, oh my goodness, 20 years ago, that was not even possible. So there is wonders to technology, but we must also stay in the humility of our hearts and still driving in personal connection where possible, because in the reality of there's always polarization. I wouldn't be able to do what I do on a global scale if I wasn't able to use the internet and connection through digital platforms and be able to unify people and transform people's lives. But there are a lot of people out there that are actually very lonely. And, you know, there is also the darker side of what's actually happening where people get trolled for certain things. And then we can't kind of bypass that. That's a real reality of what's going on out there. And I think people sometimes forget that it's great to have likes and loves and followers. And I have a very big social media like you do, Sean. But the reality is that we mustn't lose the dilution, or we should not dilute the ability to come together in person when it's safe and to be able to physically do that, right? It's very, very important that we do that, because in times of adversity, it's when the human spirit rises the highest. And I think we're seeing a lot of that right now, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people whistleblowing on things where they're having zero tolerance to it, like obviously the child trafficking and obviously the inappropriate behavior that's happening in the political arena and it's happening in the business world, in the corporate world, where people are actually funneling money and really duping the middle Americans that are, you know, now no longer having their retirements that they thought that they had set up there for themselves moving forward. You know, it will always it will always give light to that moving forward. I think the way culturally we will be in this country moving forward is that there will be more balance or harmonics, but it's going to take time still. We're just really at the precipice of bringing light to the dichotomy and the disparity that's actually there. That's always been there, but we're now actually popping Pandora's box and seeing what's actually inside Pandora's box.
Which I have a sneaking suspicion is going to be very ugly for people. They're not going to want to know. Like some people, I know for a fact, just don't want to know. Like, you know what? I would just rather not know. Because there's a bliss to it. They say ignorance is bliss. There's a, it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it.
Right. Totally. I agree 100%. And I think, so kudos to those that choose not to know differently. But I think when you're informed, you can make better choices for yourself and the life that you want to live, which obviously has a knock-on effect to the lives in which that you touch, whether it's your immediate family, your peers, your co-workers, etc., to your extended community in which where you live and reside. I absolutely, given who I am as a seer, a medium, clairvoyant, psychic, without doubt, ignorance is not going to be the narrative of moving forward. And sometimes seeing the unseen, or as in receiving information you wish that you could unlearn or that you could unknown, is not the way that we're going to actually move forward. And I think that I would rather not be a mushroom and fed shit in the dark, excuse the pun. I would rather be in the light and be given my own free will choice to how I want to move through whatever is presented than actually be kept in the dark. I think that at a scale, if humanity really understood the spectrum of what's actually playing out, sure, they would say, "Well, just give me the blue pill and don't worry about it. I'll stay in the matrix, if you will, and not really awaken to what is potentially available to me." I would say, no, don't take the blue pill. Take the red pill. Step out of the matrix. You'll be surprised what life has to offer, and the unseen and the unknown isn't scary. Like when you actually understand who you are and the interconnectedness of what we all are, there is so much beauty to be shared. There is so much beauty to be felt. There's so much to live for. But I think you are 100% right. People are fearful, and we can give it many labels, but the reality is that they're just fearful. They're fearful that the world that they created or that they perceive that they've created as idealistic will change, and people get attached. Humans are naturally attached. They get attached to shiny things, to shiny material objects. They get attached to titles. They get attached to where they live, or a career that they have, and they are so much more than that. But it was going to be a very interesting time, absolutely. I think really collectively we are going to see a more detrimental impact what's going to happen on the job front, what's going to happen economically in this country. I don't think the U.S. at large are really aware of what's going to happen with Wall Street. We're going to have more impact with that. But, that's part of evolution, as a species. If we're going to actually move forward, we need to start taking care of ourselves as a species rather than just hoping that something will take care of us without us having to do any of the work. It's like all things, as you know, you water yourself, and whatever you water will water you in return. It has that really nice exchange.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I 100% believe that. But these are the conversations that we have to be having. Totally. Right? I mean, these are the conversations that need to take place. We need to understand. I always, as a child, my mom was like, don't talk to strangers and don't take candy from strangers and don't get into strangers' cars. And, if someone's stalking you, like call 911 or find a policeman or, whatever. And these are the conversations that we have. But you hear about it, but you never see it. You never experience it.
Yeah.
Until Uber comes around and Uber's like, get into my car. They're a stranger. Everything we were taught as a kid just went right out the window when Uber, oh, and here's some water. Oh, and here's some snacks. And oh, here's some candy. Like, so Uber, I've been in some fancy Ubers. They got food and snacks and water and all kinds of stuff. And they'll talk to you.
Don't forget the mints, right? The mints are the be-all and the end-all in an Uber ride. Yeah.
Right. And I just find it fascinating that the narrative has changed. We're perfectly comfortable doing that now. I think this is the conversation that we need to have is what happens when somebody finds out, like, wow, there were these things going on next door to me, or wow, this person has an amazing brilliance that they're bringing to the world. How cool is that? And I mean, there's no long with this. Nobody knows about me. Well, as long as you're posting consistently on social media, or you have books or podcasts, or you're creating content, you're making waves, you're making a movement. Like at this point, people are going to find out about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think inherently we're as human beings, we're reluctant to change.
What do you mean they're reluctant to change? How do you mean? Ashra, you still with us? Okay, as we get her back on the line, I want everybody right now to go to www.ashraglobal.com. ASHRAGLOBAL.org. AshraGlobal.org. Check out her new 12-month program launching December 12th. this year, 2020, called The Chalice. And what she's doing in there is going to be absolutely amazing. Check out her program. The link is right there in the show notes. Check that out. So you were saying that that people were reluctant to change. What do you mean they're reluctant to change? What does that mean? Asher, can you hear me? Okay, so in my opinion, change is hard, scary. People might be reluctant to change because it's what they don't know. And a lot of people, we talk about comfort zones all the time, right? We talk about comfort zones and getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of your comfort zone. I absolutely think that people should learn another skill or do something that's scary just to break that mindset of getting out of that comfort zone or the mindset of being reluctant to change. That's just my opinion. Ashra, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to get her back on the line, but I want to get some final thoughts here. So, those of you listening right now, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the moment you said no to something and then it turned out to be amazing. I want you to think of this moment where an opportunity came and it was going to be amazing. You found out it was going to be amazing, but you were scared to do it. So I want you to think about that as we start to close the show. What happened? What was the opportunity that you had that you didn't want to change from, that was scary for you, and then ended up turning out to be amazing? And you can talk about that and email that to me at Sean@thesuccesscore.com, or you can go to our Life Transformation Radio community on Facebook, our Facebook group, and post it in there. Ashra, can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now? Either on the Facebook page, that's fine, or you can go to Facebook, search for the Facebook group, Life Transformation Radio Community. We also have a Facebook page for Life Transformation Radio. But I think she brings up a good point. I think that people are so afraid to become more than what they are right now. I think they're scared to get out of their own way, get out of their own mindset, because it's all they've known. And that's just my opinion. But from what I've seen from people that I've talked to, people that I've trained in resilience classes, people that I have spoken to at events or had on my show, it seems to be the recurring theme about change is pretty much up there with one of the hardest things that they have to do, because it's going into the unknown. What will happen if I change? Who will I become? I think that's the number one thing that people think about. When you think about change, I wonder if people are asking themselves, who will I become if I change? And that might be scary for them because they don't know. They know who they are now. They know who they are in this moment, in this year. But part of transformation is knowing and recognizing that there is a need to change. I think that's the first step. The first step in recognizing a change is the reason to actually change, that there needs to be a change. And most people don't want to acknowledge that, like addictions and things like relationships. I think that that if you recognize the need to change, I think that's the first step. If you have any questions for us, you can dial us in at 657-383-1109. If you want to talk on the show, go ahead and pick up your phone at 657-383-1109. We can take in callers. And Ashra, you still with us? I am not hearing Ashra. Okay, you can call us at 657-383-1109. With that, so I hope you enjoyed the show. Connect with Ashra at ashraglobal.org. And is she with us now?
I'm here. Oh my
awesome.
goodness.
Yeah, your mic just kind of, I think your mic died. I think your mic just kind of like died. Right. I hear like scratching and like fuzzy noises. I'm like, what is going on over there? I think it died.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We have gremlins. I don't know, but we're here, so that's the main thing.
We will have a show. We will have a show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look,
damn it, we will. I'm determined.
Everybody listening right now, this has been totally planned. We're just showing you resilience in its, entirety and what it could look like. Yeah.
We're actually talking as if this is the reality of what life is like.
Right.
And that, as much as you can plan for success and plan for execution of success, the reality is that life happens, and sometimes there'll be a curveball, but how do you pivot and how do you adjust to that curveball and not lose your momentum and not fall into a heap and, think, oh my God, the world's going to end? How do you actually step up and really stand in your strength and really stand in your ability and say, hey, this is a moment to share something that is potent and powerful and that is really insightful, and I want to be able to pass this information forward. So it's absolutely spot on that, yeah, we've been having some gremlins, but we're determined. We're determined to have this conversation and bring it together and come together and have a really raw, organic chat. And that's what reality is about. It's what life is about.
Absolutely.
Moving with the ebbs and flows, right?
Absolutely. So what I want to do is talk about what every woman needs to know. Part of what you do is a transformational, sacred, divine, feminine coach. So what is it that women need to know?
So this first part is relevant to everybody, that they're enough. I think we live in a subculture where there's so much competition to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, external validation, particularly in a social media economy where if you don't actually have followers and you don't have presence in social media, then you're deemed, unfortunately, as not cutting the mustard, if you will, or cutting rank. That's further from the truth. So the first message that I want to impart is that you are enough. We're born more than enough, and it's through the toxicity and the dilution and the conditioning and the expectation that is pummeled onto us in our youth where we start to measure ourselves against one another, where we actually decide at some point that we're not enough. So it's so important to remember that you are not the opinions of other people. You are not the expectations of other people. You are not the conditioning of other people. Who you are, who your organic voice is, who your heart essence is, what you believe, what you stand for, what you advocate for has always been enough. It will always be enough. And it's really important that you don't hide yourself from the world, that you step up, lean in, and show the world what it is to lead from heart. Because if we're really going to talk about transformation and we bring it to its absolute core, is that love is the key in true transformation. True transformation is first the loving relationship that we learn to have with ourselves by unlearning all the things where we forgot to love ourselves. And then the second part is an organic, beautiful exchange. When we learn to love ourselves, we can then learn to love others unconditionally, not love with expectation or agenda or condition, which takes time. So absolutely, first point, that you're enough. Second point, get clear on what it is that you're wanting to do with yourself in the world. We get given this life, and nobody has time promised to them. And so you can delay gratification, you can delay the life that you think that you want to live when the kids leave home, or when you have earned enough money, or when you've lost enough pounds, or whatever the story that goes behind it. You have this moment. You have every single day to do something that expands you, nourishes you, and empowers you to be better than the version of yourself yesterday. So choose yourself. It's not selfish, nor should you ever have guilt or shame about choosing yourself first and foremost, because if you are not anything to yourself, you cannot be anything to anybody else in your family or in your community. That's my second message. My third message is that it's time to let down the armor. Women are powerful in absolute movement when we actually stand together and we cease belittling each other. We are all created uniquely, imperfectly perfect. And it's one of the most powerful things that I've seen happen in a room, in an auditorium full of women, when I deliver this message, that when we stop cutting each other off one another, one more beautiful, one more smarter, one more thinner, one more better complexion, one that's got more money in the bank. When you see someone for who they are rather than making them someone that they're not, you can also see it within yourself. When you start showing up as yourself, you'll actually see that other women will love you for who you are, not you trying to be everything other than yourself. That's my third message. So it's really important, the body of work that I do, and obviously that's very skimmed over, is what people come to work with me, what they think they're going to work with me on is generally not what they're going to start with. And what they start with is unpacking directly what's inhibiting them, blocking them, sabotaging them, and keeping them from actually moving forward in their life. Mostly it's themselves. Secondary, it's a false ideology around beliefs, behaviours, habits, habitualization, and lack of boundaries. They are the elements. If you want to really create change in your life, you need to change your habits, or your actions. You need to be really clear about your beliefs that are married to your values. And your beliefs need to be beliefs that you have written for yourself, that don't come from your pain and trauma, that come from your liberation and your ownership of how you want your living legacy to look, feel, smell, taste, and sound like. And boundaries. If you don't have boundaries in your life and you keep asking yourself why you keep having chaos, trauma, dichotomy in your world, it's because you're permitting and allowing, perpetuating for other people to bleed all of their chaos, trauma and drama in your life. So boundaries are quintessential. The beliefs need to be expansive to support what you value. And truly, when you look at what you value, go beyond the material things like the annual vacation and the house and the fancy car and the certain amount of bling that you have in your cupboard. Look at the things that you value in terms of intimacy and connection, communication, and things that actually expand you and nourish you from the inside out. That's where true transformation lies. And, no two individuals are the same. It's really important to understand that. I work with individuals from sexual abuse to domestic violence, career change, people that work in the community all the way to CEO and executive level, non-for-profit. Every individual is celebrated for who they are, and every process that they work through with me is treated as confidential and unique as they are. And that's the beautiful bit about working with women through transformation.
Love it. Oh, it's amazing. I love what you're doing in the world. I know that you are reaching so many people, transforming their lives, and I just applaud the work that you're doing in a time that where we really need it. We really do. I just see what's going on in my own household with my kids in virtual school and my wife having to become the teacher and the mom. I'm here doing the business stuff, having to, back her up in what she's doing, and she's backing me up what I'm doing, and support, and it's a lot. I
Totally.
can't imagine. I mean, and we have a fourth child that is, coming out of diapers. So it's like, I can't even imagine the families that have 4 kids in virtual school, who also have 2 jobs that they have to go to. We're just lucky enough that what we do, I work on the podcasts and work with speakers and businesses and launching things and, all that. But man, I mean, if we both had jobs that we couldn't break free from, we'd probably have to be on different shifts just to make sure everything's going, the right way.
Totally. And that's a reality for a lot of people. For majority of people have more than one job in order just to stay afloat. And I think both mums and dads, so this isn't exclusive to women, both couples, this is not gender specific. We are now more than ever, because of the lifestyle that we've created for ourselves as a society, we're juggling different hats all the time. And the fact that we are living in the middle of a pandemic, we are. We're homeschooling. I have a 16-year-old. Doing that homeschooling space, it's challenging. And when you run a global brand and that you're speaking and you're creating content and you're serving your existing clients and you're growing your business, I still have a family. I still have to create space for date night with my beloved. Like you, we have that ability, but there are a lot of people that don't have that ability. And the way that you create time is very much around your schedule. I think one of the interesting things that I've learned since living here in this country is to actually pause and look at how you're filling your schedule. What does your schedule actually say about you? Are you filling it for the sake of being busy, being busy? Or you actually got things in your schedule that are actually giving you nourishment in return? So is it very intentional that you're actually creating some sort of date night, even though it's date night at home that you can peel away after the kids have gone to bed, where you can actually put on some candles and play a little bit of background music and actually just be present with each other. Just talk to each other and connect, or maybe share a really nice meal and create some intimacy back in that, because we live busy lives. Women during the pandemic, the percentage that are actually having to go out to work where previously they didn't have to has significantly shifted. It's like something crazy, like 74% was one of the latest statistics that I read. That's a lot of the population when we're talking 300 million plus.
Oh yeah.
The people that their dynamics of working, like you were talking about, and their income capacity into the home, the roles are reversing. And it's that ability to pivot and still create some harmony in the home so that it doesn't feel like it's frantic all the time, and be grateful. There is also a really large proportion. I'll get it out in a minute. There's a very large proportion of the community at large right now that actually don't have work, that don't have any idea when their next income's going to be. And that some of them have worked in industries for a really long time as a result of the pandemic. So there is a lot of exacerbated stress that we're trying to navigate. And I know the work that you're doing with your clients in the community that you serve, Sean, like my end and what I do, we're trying to reach those individuals and adding value to the community so that it's a knock-on, so it can be paid forward, so that people can really see that there is possibility, even through adversity like we're experiencing, right?
Yep. Absolutely love it. Great message. Wow. Absolutely amazing. I hope a lot of people connect with you. I hope that a lot of people enjoyed the content of what was delivered here. I think you're absolutely amazing, and I'm honored to have you on the show.
Thanks so much. It's been good fun, minus the gremlins that we had. We persisted. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. We got there.
Absolutely love it. So, in closing, what's going to happen for the rest of 2020? You got this 12-month program launching.
Yeah, so the Chalice, which is a 12-month a spiritual boot camp, if you will. It's a combination of direct one-to-one with me and then hours and hours of content, video and recorded content that actually help you transform your life from the inside out, heart, mind, body, soul, with spirit. There is no aspect that is not covered, anything from working through trauma and wounding, ancestral, generational, past life, you name it, it's in there. And so there's definitely that's happening. And there's actually some more of me coming out in the media, so that's exciting. That's happening next year. I will be doing more virtual tours and more virtual events. So keep an ear and an eye out for that. And we will see where the wind blows. There's a lot. There's a lot happening. Right now, it's just focusing on what's directly in front of us, right?
Love it. Love it. All right. So, again, loved having you on the show. I want everybody right now to go to ashraglobal.org. Go to her website. Check her out. Go on Facebook. Go on LinkedIn. It's all right there in the show notes. Connect with her and let her know that you listened to her episode of Life Transformation Radio. Thank you so much, Ashra. We will talk to you very, very soon.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody. Stay well, stay safe, stay in heart.
Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around her. If anything resonated with our conversation today on Life Transformation Radio with transformational, sacred, divine, feminine coach Ashra Bennett, please connect with her. You got the links. You know what she's about. Get to know her just a little bit more and join her new 12-month program launching December 12th. With that, I close the show by saying, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.